Hello my friends, David Kessler here and welcome back to the studio. Today let's address their top five things that I think are habits of successful artists. Now I am so fortunate that I know so many really good artists. Most are painters, a couple sculptors, and those that do, multiple things, but I'm fortunate. I know a lot of very, very successful people and painters, artists, and in talking with them and knowing them over the years, I have a pretty good appreciation for what it takes to be successful. And these people all have these things in common. So if you have the desire to be a more successful artist, here are five things that you need to know to make you better. The first thing is that all of these artists know and have mastered the fundamentals of art, or the fundamentals of painting. And we take that stuff for granted. I teach a lot of students, and a lot of students think, I don't need to know all that fundamental stuff. All I need to know is, how do I use this little rubber scraper, to put this paint on here to make marks? Well, if you don't know the fundamentals of how to put colors together, how to develop a composition, it won't make any difference what you do with that little rubber ducky scraper. It's not going to matter. Right? You have to have a base of information to work from, and that's fundamentals. And if you don't know those fundamentals about how to design a composition or make shapes or manipulate values or put colors together, your little scraper's not going to matter. And I find so many instructors, they don't talk about fundamentals. So I get students that don't know anything about it because other people have never taught them. So the number one thing that you need to know how to do is you need to know how to master the fundamentals of making art. Real simple. but which leads me to the next one. Number two is that they have honed their skills over many, many years, and sometimes decades. These people are amazing because they continue to work and make better work, and they've honed their skills over and over and over, typically on thousands of paintings. Thousands, you heard me right, thousands. Right, not 50, not dozens. In most cases, not even hundreds, but sometimes hundreds, often thousands. Right, and that's what it takes, to be a better painter or a better artist, is you've got to create a lot of work. And you got to realize that most of it's going to suck. But you have to be okay with that. Right? So hone your skills and define your skills over a long period of time. That really, really helps you do the third thing, which is create consistent process in your studio. All the people I know have a consistent process on how they make their work, right? They'll do their palette a certain way. They'll do their canvas a certain way. They'll mix their colors a certain way. It's a process. And I think that's what's missing from a lot of amateur painters or a lot of amateur artists, is that they're all over the place with all this squirrely stuff they do rather than defining a process. And people think, oh God, a process, I can't do a process, that'll lead to conformity and all my work being the same and blah, blah, blah. Listen, here's the truth. And any good artist will tell you this. The process is the key to making loose, creative work. Because what you don't want to have to worry about in your studio is all the little stuff. You want to worry about the big stuff, which is making your work. And if you have a consistent way that you approach it, that's not conformity, that's professionalism. That's organizational skills that you need to be successful. A studio process, a consistent studio process, is one of the best things that you can do to be more successful as a painter. And that process leads to, number 4, the creation of consistent work. I've talked about this so many times before, and a lot of artists don't want to hear, oh, golly Pete, I can't do, I don't want to do the same thing. I want to do different stuff all the time. Well, there's nothing wrong with that. I'm just here to tell you that the most successful artists out there today create consistent work, meaning that from painting to painting to painting, or sculpture to sculpture to sculpture, there's a common thread there. There's a thread that ties all of that together. Generally speaking, you can tell, if I'm looking at work, I can see that that's Wolf Kahn's work. No doubt about it. That's Wolf Kahn's painting. If I look at Brian Rutenberg, there's no way I can say, yeah, that's not Brian Rutenberg's work. That's his work, because it's consistent. It has a consistent look, feel, and treatment of the materials and the medium that make it tied together. And that comes from doing a lot of work, knowing the fundamentals, creating a consistent studio process. All that comes together to create that consistent work. And it's one of the most important things you can do to make yourself more successful as an artist. Okay? Number 5, they create consistent work, and they create a lot of it, and they're continuing to produce work. Right? And I know this sounds basic, but you're not going to be a successful painter if you're painting one painting a month. It's not going to happen. You have to make a lot of paintings, and because you have all of this knowledge in your head and a great studio process and consistency in how you create things, creating a lot of work is just an offshoot of that. All right? It's just an offshoot of that. I don't think there's any successful paintings that might paint, one painting a month, unless they're big, large, heavily detailed paintings. There may be people that do that. That takes them a whole, month to do a painting, and they only do 12 a year. I understand that. But generally speaking, most people don't work that big or that detailed that it takes a month, full month to do the painting while they're not working on other stuff, right? So continually producing work. All right, so the 5 things that we're going to summarize: know the fundamentals. They know the fundamentals and how to implement those. They've honed their skills over many, many years to be better. They have a consistent studio process to create work, and that helps them to create a consistency in their work. And number 5, they create lots of work continuously. All right, I hope this was helpful for you. And those of you that, haven't sort of reached a successful level yet, but are working really hard towards it, those 5 things are really critical in your development to get better, to move beyond where you are to another place, a better place as a painter. So I hope this is helpful for you. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, please do that. If you want to catch up with me at a workshop somewhere, I would love to meet you and paint with you for a few days. And I have a link below to the workshops that I have coming up for 2020. And I'll see you on the next video. Thanks.